become a multinational company, as you said, with operations in over 80 countries. How do you go about expanding that same ethic when you're no longer just serving one country, but the community that you serve are now global communities? How does that same responsibility translate into that context?
I think it follows a presence. For example, TCS, when there was the cyclone in New Orleans, or there have been problems in some of the cities where they operate. TCS employees on their own have undertaken relief work in that area and have been remembered for it. In South Africa, where we have undertaken education or creating skills for Africans who have no jobs. I think what I'm trying to say is that wherever we are, that urge to help the communities around us is there, and wherever we can, we do it. And we would like to say that we could have a more humane presence in an area than another company might.
From gentleman on top. Sir, yes.
Good morning, Mr. Tata. My name is Joseph Aki from Alpha Numeric Consultants in Singapore. My question is related to the phrase that Professor Srivastava used in your opening remarks, referring to conscious capitalism. Now, there is a perception that the Indian capitalism is not, I don't want to use the word unconscious, for a better word, unconscionable. The larger economy, Indian economy and the global economy, how conscionable is the Indian capitalism? Conscious or conscionable? In fact, there is a perception that this Indian capitalism is oligarchical. So, can we move on from unconscionable capitalism to compassionate capitalism? In that respect, where will we put Indian capitalism today as being an industrious leader of an industrious company and a group of companies? You have a beacon light for the Indian economy as well as the global economy. So in your view, where we stand as a nation in terms of conscionable or compassionate capitalism?
Yeah, I don't know what makes the difference, because compassionate capitalism, I don't know what that really means. Presumably it means that you show compassion in some form or another. If you do it for purposes of public visibility, then I think you're not being compassionate. You actually are just serving your own ego, or serving your publicity-driven desires. So compassionate capitalism has to be viewed not by you, but by the people that have benefited from you. And so I don't know how to respond to that particular question, because a very wealthy company can disperse huge amounts of high visibility capital. One can build temples all over the country. Would that be compassionate capitalism? To build maybe subsidized food stores that people can shop in or eat, which would eventually not work, but initially would have a lot of visibility. I don't know how to.
Perhaps I can elaborate. When I mean compassionate capitalism, the benefits of modern technology and all the discoveries and technology we have should be available to the masses at large. What we see today, or maybe 20, 30 years before, there are islands of prosperity, the vast ocean of poverty. And even today stands good, in spite of the tremendous technology growth we see around the world.
Okay. I really believe that anything you want to do in India cannot be an all-India episode. It has to be showcased in small places. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If we go back to the students.
Good morning, Mr. Tata.
Ladies first, I think. Or you could say it in unison. Ladies first, please.
Good morning, Mr. Tata. My name is Kritika. I'm a business student from the National University of Singapore. My question is very short. It's you have been an exemplary leader in the corporate world for a lot of people to emulate. And if you were to state 3 attributes that a leader of the 21st century must have, what would they be?
3 attributes that
A leader in the 21st century must have.
short question, but very difficult answer. I think very quickly, as I said earlier, the person should be his own person. They should not be doing things in terms of how they look, but what he believes is right. The person should be honest in what he's trying to achieve and be able to stand up to criticism for that if he believes it's right. And the third is everything he does should stand the test of public scrutiny. And he should abide by what he believes in himself.
Thank you.
Person below. But in the interest of time, please keep your questions short.
Good morning, Mr. Tata. My name is Archit and I'm a second-year student here at SMU. From what I've read about you, Mr. Tata, you began your career on the shop floor of Tata Steel, shoveling limestone into a furnace. How important were those early years where you were low in the hierarchy of the Tata Group in your later success as a leader?
You know, I've asked that question to myself many times. So, to be frank, those first 7-8 years, which didn't seem to go anywhere, were either muscle building exercises or exercises in pure frustration. I asked myself, was that really planned, or was it a plan to break me and let me go back to the US? All I can say, if I look back on those days, they did a couple of very important things for me. They put me in a level where I could never have been otherwise. So I got to use a word that's been used many times today, got to be more compassionate about that level of employee than I would be today. It led me to be considerate about what workers had to move, what weights they had to lift, how easy a job was, and became conscious about that. In every other way, I don't think it served any purpose other than to test me.
Thank you.
In the interest of time, I think this will have to be the last question. So, sir, if you could take your question, and if the rest you have something to add on, please feel free to do so. Sir, please.
Good morning, Mr. Tata. I'm Jakteshwar. I'm a third-year student at SMU. I'm a campionite just like you. I'm coming from Mumbai. What I want to ask you is, basically for the last 20 years, as you've been the chairman of Tata, Tata has shown tremendous growth. But what Tata has also been, what Tata has been phenomenal about is the way it takes care of its employees. And I saw this personally in an internship I did with the Tata Group. So how have you been able to balance showing tremendous growth, but at the same time taking care of employees to the extent that Tata goes out and takes care of employees?
How do you show?
Balance between growth and considering employees as your major stakeholders.
See, I think in terms of balancing growth, the growth that we want to have is quite often not possible. In Tata Steel we have a large expansion of our steel capacity in Orissa, which hasn't yet happened and hasn't happened for 7 years. It's not something that an organization counts on, having that kind of delay. So, how do in India we have to operate in somewhat unrealistic environment where things you're not the master of everything that happens. And so you have to balance that against an issue of what do you do if that growth doesn't take place? What do you do if you've got your resources tied up in your plans for growth? I don't know how I can speak of how you balance this against alternate uses of your funds.
I'm afraid we must